Hey Harmonizers, welcome to the Grand Canyon. We can't believe we made it here. This is epically gorgeous and a little bit scary because as we're riding along the path, there are no guardrails and sometimes the canyon gets pretty close to the path. So we definitely had to make sure that we stayed on the path for the most part, and we're pretty careful about where we went, and really grateful that our horses really listen very well bridleless, because we did do this entire ride completely bridleless. We did bring bridles with us just in case. We brought them along on the side and tied them to our saddles, so we had some backup available if need be. And we aren't entirely sure if this was a path that we were supposed to be on, but we kind of arrived a little bit late and we were told that there were horse paths that we could get to. And we came across this path and we thought, well, you know what? The sun is setting pretty soon, so we better get crack-a-lacking on it. And we really didn't come across hardly any people. I think we passed maybe one or two hikers, but it was really a quiet setting. And most of the path was paved like this, so we walked most of the entire trail, and it had some sections where it brought you really, really close to the canyon. And you can see our horses are doing really well, just being completely bridleless and totally calm. And it was kind of an interesting thing because we got there a lot later than we wanted to. This was originally supposed to be earlier in the day, and then after this ride, we drive along the Fossil Rim, the South Rim Drive, and there's supposed to be lots of beautiful lookouts. I'm sure it was absolutely gorgeous, but it is very close to sunset, and so that meant that it was completely dark and we didn't get to see any of the drive as we leave out of here. But on the plus side is that we were here at sunset, and you will see as this video goes on that it just gets more and more gorgeous. Like, if you think it's beautiful now, just wait until we get towards the end of the video. It is so stunning. It is absolutely stunning. And then when there were some of these wider spots here beside the path, we took our horses off on the side, and just to kind of test their bridleless a little bit, but also to get a couple really cool pictures with our horse. So we really did ride bridleless at the canyon, really did take them close to the edge like this. And the horses are so well trained that you can see, like here, Lissy looks off to the left, and I'm actually able to cue her to look at the camera again just by tapping on her neck. She's that responsive and listens that well. So we are definitely not advocating that if you're new to bridleless or you don't have a really calm connection with your horse and have developed this really deep relationship with your horse, we're not suggesting that you go out and try this. This is something that we've worked towards we've been a partnership for a couple years now. And you guys remember from my original videos of Alicia being a total dragon leaping in the air. So hopefully this gives some inspiration that those horses can change when you develop that calm connection and you develop that partnership with your horse. You can get to a place where you really feel like you can take your horse anywhere. And you guys are going to see coming up in this video, we come across some wild animals on the trail, which I totally did not think would happen being in this more populated area. And I guess I should say a more visited area, because it's not populated, but it is more visited because we are at the South Rim, and this is one of the touristy areas. We parked at one of the big tourist lots and came on this paved path, although we really didn't come across hardly any people along this trail, but it is around the more main area. So I definitely was not thinking that we would come across some big wildlife animals, but I was a little surprised. And but our horses are so well trained and so well prepared at this point with all of the things that we've done. And there's definitely some people, when I posted some of these pictures on Facebook, that were saying, this is so dangerous. How could you do that? You're bridleless. That's the Grand Canyon. Like, you could have fallen in, kind of thing. And it was definitely kind of a trippy experience. You're looking at the canyon and your brain doesn't fully comprehend just how huge this is. Like, you look down there and you don't really process how big that space is, how deep and how far that is. And it is kind of confusing, and you almost have this effect of feeling dizzy when you're looking at it. And for the most part, we walked the whole trail, but we did do a little bit of trotting and a tiny little bit of canter just to get some cute little photos and do a little bit of speed control. But for the most part, we stayed at the walk the whole time. We do have our little scoot booties on because we are riding on a paved area. And so she had good grip. And of course, my horses, they don't have shoes on anyway, so it's not the same as if you've got shoes, you're going to slip and slide on the pavement. But we really just did a few little segments of canter just to have a little bit of fun. But for the most part, we were walking and taking it pretty easy. And to respond to those people that are saying like, oh, wow, that's so dangerous. Like, how could you possibly do that? I just want to show you guys how well trained our horses are. And to get to this point, like you guys remember Alicia being a flying dragon, leaping in all fours. We've come through a lot to get to this place. And you can see she's totally bridleless there, really close to the edge, but very much listening to me. That's Franny with her horse completely bridleless as well. And you have to have a little bit of trust in your horse that they don't want to go leaping over the edge, and that we've set our horses up to be in a frame of mind where they're emotionally calm, they're focused, they're thinking, and they've got some self-preservation. They don't want to go falling off the edge of a cliff. And I'm being respectful of her thresholds and making sure that we don't get too close to the edge because I don't want anything bad to happen either. And really for me at this point, with the level of training that I've put into Alicia, I would say I have just as much control or communication bridleless as I do without a bridle. So here we are coming across the wildlife that we encountered along our trail. We came across some deer, which was super crazy because we're right on the main path, and you can see our horses are kind of staring and looking and like, okay, are they supposed to be there? And we're like, yep, they're allowed to be there. So we kind of paused for a minute. You can see the deer a little bit better there. And there were a whole bunch of them. And it was kind of funny because right before this moment happened, like literally maybe 30 seconds before this happened, we were trotting along because this was in the more area, kind of not so close to the canyons. We were trotting along a little bit. And Franny was saying like, we should be careful because there might be some wildlife up ahead. And I was like, really? Like, I don't think there's going to be anything here. Like, we're in a really well-visited area. And like within 30 seconds, it's like, oh, look at that. There is a bunch of deer all around. So there was one running by the bush. You can see the one running away there. There's the one up on top of the hill. There were a couple others hiding in the bushes. And our horses are totally bridleless and totally okay with it. But keep in mind, there's another deer right there. We've done a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of, but we've done some cow work with our horses because we do extreme cowboy racing. We've got chickens on the farm. I let my dogs be loose on the farm all the time. We go trail riding and we come across a lot of different things. So definitely we didn't just bring our horses on this road trip and say, hey, we're going to try riding bridleless. And we've never taken our horses bridleless before. We've done a lot of different experiences and competitions up to this point that have led us to be here where we feel completely safe and connected to our horses to be able to do these really remarkable things. And hopefully it can be a little bit of inspiration, especially for those of you guys that have seen horses before that are really rambunctious or hot-headed or explosive types, because Alicia was that not that long ago. And now she's just become this really trusting partner where I felt so solid with her. And here we're at the Grand Canyon. In our next video, we're going to be at the Bryce Canyon. And she passes a test that I'm just completely blown away of. So that's going to be the next video where you get to see all of that unfold, where she just turns out to be a total, complete rock star and completely surpasses my expectations of her. She just is absolutely amazing. And so here's kind of a fun moment. I'm like, she's being really quiet. We're near the edge of the Grand Canyon. The sun is setting. I'm like, let's just get a really cool standing pose by the Grand Canyon. It was kind of hard to keep my balance. That's the hardest part for sure. And my horse is just totally awesome. She's just like, yep, we're taking more photos. Got it. I'm on pause. And if you've been following along this series of videos, you've seen how we've done so many challenges, even just on this trip, with starting in Colorado and riding through the Rocky Mountains with my 3-year-old daughter, and getting to California and doing our demos there with the big blue tarp and doing the bridles. And so this is just one more piece of the puzzle that we're doing. And she's doing awesome as we're looking around there, rotting off on the edges. This kind of gives you a little bit of a different perspective. And look how beautiful that is with the sunset. Start getting all of these purple hues. It becomes a little bit more burgundy in the canyon. It's absolutely amazing. So even though the timing ended up being much later than we thought, it meant that we got this amazing view. It's absolutely stunning and looks completely different at sunset than it does during the day. And we kind of got to see both of those. Like at the start of the video, looks very different than how the canyon looks now. It's absolutely stunning. Although I'm definitely sad that when we left, it was completely dark, which meant that the entire rest of the drive, we couldn't see anything. And then the other slightly bad part to that is, after this, we still had to drive all the way to Bryce Canyon, which was another 5 hours of driving. And so we enjoyed our time at the canyon. We wanted to take it all in. We didn't want to rush it. But then that meant we left at dark and we had to drive 5 hours still, which meant that we were driving until, I can't remember, it was somewhere between 3 or 4 in the morning. And by the time we finally got into our hotel room after this whole night, was something ridiculous. It was at like 4:30 or even 5 in the morning. It was absolutely insane. So we literally laid down for like a 4-hour nap sleep before we had to start our day again for the next day, because we had a whole bunch of things planned for that day as well. Now, luckily, with 3 of us driving, you can see some more deer there in the woods. With 3 of us driving, we were able to take turns, and luckily, Sarah is used to working some night shifts with her job, so she was okay with taking the most brutal shift of driving. I think she drove from like midnight to 3 or 3:30 in the morning or something ridiculous like that. So definitely shout out to Sarah. Massive thank you for you taking those most brutal driving sessions. And then it was really nice that we built in days of rest as well. So we have this pretty intense day where we've gone to Vegas, we've gone to the Grand Canyon, and then arrived super late. But then we get to have a nice morning where we get to sleep in a little bit more, take it easier, and then just had a trail later in the day. You can get some really nice views here at the canyon as we're starting to make our way back out. And this is crazy. Take a look at how close and how steep. Like, sure, if your horse, spooked a couple feet to the side, you are falling way down. But our horses are really calm. We trust our horses, and we trust that they're not going to spook down sideways into the canyon. And it's really not any different than, the people that ride the mules or ride down into the canyon on those narrow pathways as well. I would say that this is probably safer because there's lots of room on the side that's not close to the canyon. And when you go down into the canyon, you have these really narrow paths that there's no room to even turn around on. Like, they actually have to have rules for at what time you're allowed to go up the trail and at what time the trail is for going down. And to me, that would be like pretty scary and intense to know that you can't even turn around if something happens. Whereas this, you have lots of room. But check out how gorgeous that is with that pink and the golden and the purple. It's so beautiful. And as we're coming around, totally getting to that sunset, so we're passing back. And what was really neat about this trip as well is Franny and I went for this ride by ourselves, and then Sarah, Rita, and Evelyn, they took the shuttle bus to go and watch the view and the sunset from, I believe it was called Yaqui Point, where they went. And they were able to go enjoy that, which was something completely different. So it's kind of nice for them to be able to do something special, something different from what we were getting to do, because a lot of the trip has definitely been Franny and I wanting to have these different experiences with our horses. Look at that drop. Is that not insane? Like, that is like, gives me shivers still looking at it because it was so intense. But super nice that they got to have a beautiful time and we got to have our beautiful time. And this is us heading back into the parking lot, getting ready to go out on that 5-hour drive into the night. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and check out harmonyhorsemanship.com for even more learning.